the shooting range. In this episode, Pages of History, LOSAT's challenging path. Round study, comparing the best IR-guided missiles. And Metal Beasts, the heavy sky fighter. We have yet another top-tier fighter from the new winter aircraft lineup that we haven't fully showcased yet. While we touched upon its armament in a previous episode, it's now time to get a closer look. This plane is the Mirage 4000, or simply the Super Mirage. In the 1970s, France, like other nations boasting a robust aviation industry, was striving to develop fourth-generation fighters. The now famous Mirage 2000 was meant to be a light multi-role machine, while our star of the day was the heavier bruiser in this never-ending quest for aerial superiority. The aircraft were developed in parallel, both using the same base model, which explains their resemblance. Actually, it even feels like the French engineers simply upscaled the original Mirage and doubled its name. Well, why not? It's simple and straightforward. The increased size naturally led to a higher mass for the aircraft, so the engineers gave it two turbojet engines with a total afterburning thrust of almost 20,000 kilogram forces. Thus, the heavy fighter got an even better thrust-to-weight ratio than the Mirage 2000, so don't expect weaker dynamics or a lack of maximum speed. The maneuverability is also high, largely due to its expansive delta wing. We still wouldn't recommend dueling light fighters. Feel free to turn fight other heavies, though. The Super Mirage's air-to-air arsenal includes a selection of French missiles well known to War Thunder pilots. It has the radar-guided Matras Super 350D for medium ranges, and the infrared-guided R550 Magic 2 for close-quarters combat. By the way, the Mirage can add extra close-range missiles if you install drop tanks, pushing the total number to 8. However small a gain, it's still a record for War Thunder. Stay tuned for our round studies section today, where we'll talk more about the missiles. Meanwhile, let's see how it performs in CAS. Its primary strike loadout is comprised of a couple of heavy bombs and 4 air-to-surface missiles, all laser-guided. The former are better used against less dangerous and dynamic targets, like tanks waiting in ambush or enemy clusters. Half a ton of explosives would be just enough to hit a group target. The missiles take much less time to get to the ground, so we recommend spending them on anti-air vehicles and moving targets. The Mirage 4000 truly lives up to its high expectations, proving to be a reliable addition to the line of famous French light fighters. While its larger size may seem less agile compared to its predecessors, the enhanced firepower it brings to the table is an undeniable advantage. In the mid-80s, US Department of Defense officials were looking for new methods of fighting Soviet armored vehicles. Something mass-produced, inexpensive, and fitted with composite armor and an active protection system. A promising candidate emerged in the form of the Advanced Anti-Tank Weapons System program. This initiative proposed affordable missiles mounted on light platforms, targeting both current and future tank models. The Vought company was the developer of the first variant of this missile in the early 80s, dubbed the Hypervelocity Missile. Intended for use with the A-10 Thunderbolt II, it was positioned as a potent anti-tank weapon. It was also meant to become cheaper and more efficient than the Mavericks or anti-tank systems like the TOW. The engineers focused on using less electronics for flight guidance and managed to achieve an impressive speed for ATGMs, exceeding 1,500 meters per second. That's 5 times faster than the TOW. The program persisted until the Soviet Union collapsed, leading the Air Force to drop it. Then, the Army picked it back up. Around 1997, Lockheed Martin embarked on the Kinetic Energy Missile program. The Department of Defense expected 12 units with 144 missiles by 2003, but as time went on, the goals of the program changed. The Soviet tank threat became irrelevant, and the military shifted towards improving the firepower of early entry forces. The future light platform weaponry was a very lucky opportunity. The LOSAT missiles' effective range exceeded the abilities of tank guns, and their hypersonic speed made enemy anti-missile defenses irrelevant. The LOSAT trials commenced in October 2002 in Texas, with Lockheed preparing 108 missiles and 12 launch complexes. Over 2 years and numerous launches, they successfully destroyed an M60 moving during nighttime and hit a tank at close range in an urban setting. The tests were deemed successful, but the missiles ultimately failed to enter mass production. Despite the original goals including inexpensive as a requirement, the LOSAT complex turned out to be too costly and sophisticated. There was a notion of developing a lightweight version with a top speed exceeding 2,000 meters per second, but that project was ultimately discarded too. Although the engineers didn't achieve the goal of producing simple, affordable, and efficient missiles, the technological advancements made during LOSAT's development were later utilized in subsequent projects. Following your requests in the comments, today's round study will compare the best infrared-guided air-to-air missiles used by our top fighter jets. Let's take a look at today's participants. The most widespread missile in this category is the American AIM-9M Sidewinder. The Swedish version sports the name of RB-74M. There's also the Soviet R-73 with a thrust vectoring nozzle. Here's the unique French missile, the Matra R-550 Magic II. Israel sent its Python 3, also known as the PL-8 in China, and Japan brought the newest missile in War Thunder, the AAM-3. First, let's see the maximum effective range for each of the missiles. You might think it's an irrelevant test for close-range missiles, but it's actually the key point when they're chasing an aircraft. So here's the test. Both the carrier and the target are flying at a speed of about 1,000 kilometers an hour and 1 kilometer of altitude. The French missile shows the least impressive result. It can only reach the target 3 kilometers away. The American Sidewinder and the Soviet R-73 perform better, with around 3.5 kilometers. The Israeli Python pushes this range by an extra 300 meters, and the best result in this stage is shown by the new Japanese AAM-3. In this kind of testing environment, it can reliably fly for around 4.5 kilometers before losing stability. We could try the same test with a frontal attack, but we won't see any variety in the results. In frontal aspect attacks, infrared air-to-air missiles are mostly limited by the capability of their homing devices, while target acquisition ranges are very similar for all the participants. Maneuverability is what actually matters way more in this case. Our test subjects show different overload limits imposed by their autopilots, but again, that's not the key parameter. In real combat, the decisive factors are available wing overload and the ability to sustain energy at high G-loads. Let's have another trial. We'll use the same altitude and speed for the aircraft, but launch the missiles from the front and make the target maneuver with an overload of up to 9 G. Well, it looks like operational ranges are pretty similar to what we saw in the previous test. The French missile shows the lowest result with 4,700 meters. The AIM-9M and the R-73 perform better, with ranges of around 5,200 meters. The Python is even better at sustaining energy, hitting its target at 5,400 meters. And the Japanese missile is the leader once again, with a result of 5,750 meters. We also need to note that the R-73 is the confident leader in close-range maneuverability. Thanks to its gas dynamic control surfaces, it's amazing against targets moving with a high angular deviation. The Soviet missile is so maneuverable that a helmet-mounted display is a must to unlock its full potential. But there's more to a missile's performance than just the basic characteristics. Some unique tech can change the entire premise of a fight. Take jamming resistance, for instance. Only the Israeli Python lacks this capability, which makes this weapon less efficient. The Japanese and American missiles can also boast low-smoke engines. This makes it harder for the enemy to spot the launch, especially in modes with no screen markers. Tell us in the comments what missiles are your favorite. Meanwhile, it's time for us to answer some of your questions. The first question was sent by a player called Phantom. Wait a minute, doesn't the F-15 have a higher thrust-to-weight ratio of 1.17 to 1? Hi, Phantom. It's all about the mass of the aircraft. The F-15A can push just above 17,000 kilogram forces while afterburning, but its mass can vary between 13 and almost 30 tons, depending on the armament and fuel load. So its thrust-to-weight ratio can be either above or below 1. Bossum08 asks, what's the best performing Leopard compared to its respective battle rating? Hello! We'd say the best are the 2K, the 2A4, and the 2A7. It doesn't mean others show poor results, though. All the Leopards are cool. Another question comes from Jacob John. What is the best air-to-air equipment for the MiG-21 SPSK? Hey, Jacob. Yeah, that's a tough choice. Let's try a few options here. Number 1, 4 radar-guided R3R missiles. You can use them in a frontal aspect attack, which most enemies wouldn't expect at such a low battle rating. Locking onto a target while flying low would be tough, though, so it makes sense to use a loadout with 2 infrared-guided R60 missiles. They offer notably better performance, but it's still far from perfect. We also recommend adding a cannon for extra firepower, even if it means losing the countermeasures. Mika writes, Gaijin really needs to fix the position of the IRST on the Su-27. Hi, Mika. Do you mean the sensor being offset to the right? Well, the engineers did fix it, but only after some time. Early modifications, including the one in our game, had their IRST modules centered. And the last comment for today was written by Iroquois 101. Can you do Cobra with the Gripen or the Super Mirage? Hi there. We could try, but don't expect anything impressive. Neither of the aircraft can reach a 90-degree angle. That's it for today. You've been watching The Shooting Range by Gaijin Entertainment, and the next episode will premiere the following Sunday at 4 p.m. GMT or noon Eastern Time. Subscribe and click the bell if you don't want to miss our next videos. Don't forget to respect the hard-earned nukes. Leave a like, share your thoughts and comments, and see you next week.